Hey, World History. Welcome to U8-L3. Again, this is Miss Corey. Today, we are going to talk about plagiarism. So, learning target, learn what plagiarism is and how to avoid it. Questions I ask you in blue today are questions that I just want you to answer on the Ed puzzle. So, typically when we do Ed puzzles, especially for like lecture videos, about like the Renaissance or like Mesoamerica or like the Age of Exploration. The questions that I ask you typically are just questions that I want you to give an educated guess on. So I will only just grade it if it is like somewhat on track, like you gave a good guess. I don't typically grade on if you read wrong, but today is a little different. So we're going to be talking about plagiarism, and I'm going to quiz you a few times. So I will be grading this video on what you did get right and did get wrong. So just FYI on that. So in your own words, do not Google search this. What is plagiarism? So it is the practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as one's own. Got that one from the Oxford Dictionary. So we're going to have a couple different scenarios today. The first one is that Sally is writing a paper about goats. In her paper, she includes the following Wikipedia sentence in her paragraph without quotation marks. So you can see here, goats have been used for milk, meat, fur, and skins across much of the world. Milk from goats is often turned into goat cheese. And if we go to Wikipedia, we can see exactly where she copied and pasted that right here. So this is considered plagiarism because she just copied and pasted those two sentences into her paper without giving the author any credit. So here's my question for you. What can Sally do to make it not plagiarized? Is it A, change one word around in the sentence, B, add quotation marks and parentheses of where she got the source, or C, change up at least half the sentence to make it her own? Yes, there's two correct answers for this one. So that would be B, add quotation marks and parentheses of where she got the source, and C, change up at least half of the sentence to make it her own. So here is an example of making a quote. Okay, so if Sally wanted to put this into her paper without being plagiarized, this is what she would have to do. Now, it's a little tricky, so listen very closely because I will be quizzing you on this in a little bit. Okay, follow along with me. Quotation mark. Okay, that's the first thing that goes there. And then she writes the two sentences. Okay, and then she puts another quotation mark right here. Now, do keep in mind, if you see here, there isn't a period right there. Okay, don't put a period right there. What you're going to do, instead of putting a period, is you're going to put a parenthesis, quote mark, goat, quote mark, parenthesis, period. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why would goat be in parentheses? So, when it comes to Wikipedia and some other websites, they don't have authors. So, in order to give credit to the source, you put in the article title, which in this case is just goat. That is why you put goat in parentheses or in quotation marks. Okay? All right, let's go through that one more time. So you would put in quotation marks at the beginning. Okay, that's pretty standard. Quotation marks at the end, no period, parenthesis, quote mark, the name of the title of the article, which is in this case goat, parenthesis, or quote mark, parenthesis, period. Okay, note that the period goes at the very, very end outside of the parentheses. Okay. Or she could have also just rewritten it to make it her own words. So here's an example. So goats have been used for milk, meat, fur, and skins across much of the world. Milk from goats is often turned into goat cheese. That was the original two sentences. If she worded it like this, it would not be plagiarism. So if she said, throughout most of the world, goats are used for items such as milk, meat, fur, and skins. Goat's milk is typically turned into goat cheese. All right, let's do another scenario. Coda is making a Google slide about pecans. In his slide, he writes, pecans grow wild and cultivated throughout the American South, Midwest, and Texas. So here's the article that Coda got his quote from. So you can see the quote down here, pecans grow wild and cultivated throughout the American South, Midwest, and Texas. Here is the title of the article, What Are Pecans? But this one's a little bit different than the goat one. There's actually authors in this article. So as you can see here are the two authors, Danilo Alfaro and Alexandra Jones. So what can Kona do to make it not plagiarized? A, change one word around in the sentence. B, add quotation marks and parentheses of where he got the source. Or C, change up at least half the sentence to make it his own. Yep, same answers as the goat example, right? Either B or C, put in quotation marks and parentheses of where you got the source, or change up at least half of the sentence to make it his own. All right, so let's go through this again of how to make a quote. So we begin with the quotation marks at the very beginning, okay? So quotation mark, pecan grows wild and cultivated throughout the American South, Midwest, and Texas. Quotation mark, no period, okay? Parenthesis, Alfaro and Jones, parenthesis, period. Now you're probably like, wait a minute, goats on the last example, that was the title article, and we put this here. That's right. So if there is an author, always put the author in the parentheses, okay? So for example, this one would be Alfaro and Jones, and you do not put them in quotation marks if it is an author, okay? You only put article titles in quotation marks when you are citing a source. All right, and then once again, just remember that the period goes at the very, very, very end. All right, here's another scenario too. It's about song lyrics. You probably will not have to do this in my class. It'd be kind of weird if you did. But if you're ever interested in song lyrics of how to quote them, I'll just go through this really quick. So, scenario, Hannah is texting her crush, Brett. She really wants to impress Brett because she knows he has a love for correct formatting of the English language. Brett asks her to send him her favorite song lyrics. So, Hannah sends him, Gravity's holding me back. I want you to hold out the palm of your hand. So, just know that when you are quoting song lyrics, it's the real big difference in it is when there's a break in the lyrics, right? Like instead of hitting enter or like putting a bunch of spaces in, you actually put a backslash. Okay. So it'd be gravity's holding me back slash I want you to hold out the palm of your hand. And the same kind of style applies to the goat and the pecan example, where you have the quote marks on each side. And then you have in parentheses the people who wrote the song, parenthesis, period. Okay? All right. Okay, now let's try switching around the wording and adding in our own words to make a sentence not plagiarized. So I'm going to give you a few examples here. So here was the original sentence. In 2016, Styles and the other members of One Direction decided to take a break from recording and touring, enabling Styles to pursue his solo career. So I reworded this as Harry Styles went on to his solo career in 2016, after he and his fellow members of One Direction chose to take a break from touring and recording. Okay? Totally reworded it, means it's not plagiarized. Here's another example. Gladiator takes place in AD 180 and is loosely based on historical figures. Roman forces, led by the general Maximus, Crow, defeat Germanic tribes, bringing temporary peace to the Roman Empire. So I reworded that original sentence to this. The movie Gladiator stars Russell Crowe as Maximus and takes place in ancient Rome in 180 AD. In the movie, Maximus is a Roman general who defeated Germanic tribes, which caused brief peace in the Roman Empire. Okay? Since I reworded it, not plagiarized. All right, now it's your turn to practice. So here's a multiple choice question. Question 1. What is the proper way to make the sentence into a quotation? So here's the original sentence here. Made of durum wheat or semolina, spaghetti is the most widely used of the chord pastas, which are cylindrical and solid. I got this quote from Britannica, and the article title is called Spaghetti. So there is not an author for this one. If you need kind of a refresher of what to do, I also kind of copied and pasted the previous example about the goats. Yes, if you chose B, you were correct. This is the proper way to make that into a quote. So, quote mark, made of durum wheat or semolina spaghetti is the most widely used of the chord pastas, which are cylindrical and solid. Quotation mark, parentheses, quote mark, spaghetti, because that's the article title, because remember, there's no author, quote mark, parenthesis, period. Remember, that period comes at the end. Okay. Question number 2, multiple choice again. What is the proper way to make the sentence into a quotation? Here's the original sentence. Mincing helps to distribute the flavor of the ginger more evenly throughout a dish so that you don't end up with a huge chunk in any one bite. I got this from the website The Spruce Eats. The article title is How to Mince Ginger, and the author is Danilo Alfaro. So, remember, this one I have an author for. And if you need a refresher, I copied and pasted the pecan example. Yes, it was A. Okay, so like always, you put the quote mark at the beginning. Mincing helps to distribute the flavor of the ginger more evenly throughout a dish so that you don't end up with a huge chunk in any one bite. Quote mark, parenthesis, the author's last name. Okay, so that's Alfaro. And remember, since it's the author, there are no quote marks in the parentheses. Okay, it's just plain old Alfaro, parenthesis, and then the period at the end. Okay. I doubt any of you are ever going to use books for any of your resources. In Unit 14, that's our essay writing unit. So it seems like far away, but it'll come up quicker than we think. When you do have to do a research paper, if any of you do use books, or if you use books for any of your research and any other classes and you're not quite sure how to quote it, feel free to let me know. I would be honored to show you how to do that. All right, so make sure to put resources of where you got a quote from in your MLA citation or your bibliography. Otherwise, me as the teacher who's grading it is just going to see a random quote from Alfaro and be like, who the heck is Alfaro? Where are they getting this information from? Or wondering what spaghetti article you're getting this information from too, right? There's probably like hundreds, if not thousands, of articles out there just titled spaghetti. I want to know which one. So that's why it's really important to put in your MLA citations at the end of your papers or slideshows. Okay. All right, well, now let's practice rewording a sentence. All right, so reword these sentences in your own words so it's not plagiarized. So here's the original sentence here. The last major alterations to the White House were made in the 1960s by Jacqueline Kennedy, wife of President John F. Kennedy. Renowned for her beauty and refined taste, she collected and displayed items of historic and artistic value throughout its rooms. All right, here's the next one. Reword the sentence in your own words so it's not plagiarized. Once upon a time, in a faraway swamp, there lived an ogre named Shrek, Mike Myers, whose precious solitude is suddenly shattered by an invasion of annoying fairy tale characters. So, rewording. When rewording a sentence, it doesn't have to be the same length or as complicated as the original sentence, okay? If you ever need help finding a different word, like the original sentence has this word that's like, I can't even think of a word that could replace that word, I definitely suggest you using thesaurus.com. I used that a lot in college. All right, so just wrapping up here, it's easy to plagiarize, but with one more minute of your time, you can save your behind by either adding quote marks with the author or the title in the parentheses and the period at the end, or rewording the sentence into your own words. So plagiarism isn't just for papers or projects. This was more of an issue last year than it is this year. But some of you, if you do, copy and paste vocabularies from the internet on your study guides, then of course that's depressing because then I give you zeros because it's plagiarism and I cry a little bit. It's not fun. So moving forward or whenever, just don't plagiarize, okay? Not just for social studies, for all classes. Because when you do, you'll get a 0 on your assignments, and I cry, and we all cry. You probably cry a little bit. Yeah, it's not a fun time, so don't do it. Okay, if you have any questions for me, write some in the answer box right now, or feel free to email me. And if you don't have any questions, you can just type none. All right, next up, you're going to do U8-L3, sending an email. I'm looking forward to your emails. I know Miss Hinkle is too. And thank you for participating. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching too. See you later.